recently applied for a job and you saw certain things that made you take a step back and be like, what's going on? Were there certain red flags that you saw during that interview and now you're wondering, should I take that job? Is this the right job for me? Are these people the right people I want to work with? Will I be happy in this work environment? There are certain times when we see certain things, but we don't feel comfortable enough to admit that this is not going right. Something is happening here. It's okay for you to ignore those red flags when you see them. Is it okay for you to accept that job offer and just go and work for someone who you will be miserable working with? If that is you, if you are in that position right now and you're not sure this is the right job for me, let's talk about it, okay? Because this is a situation where a lot of people are not sure if this is the right thing for them to do, but they are afraid. They need a job, they know that they need the money, but because they need the money, they are willing to compromise. But is it really worth it for you to compromise who you are and for you to ignore those warning signs that you saw just to get that job? You should never change who you are or pretend to be someone else just to get a job. I recently was watching a feature story on the TV, and there was a young man who said that he applied for a job using his real name. He did not get a call back. He didn't hear back from them at all. He wasn't invited for an interview or anything like that. He decided that he would reapply for the job using the same information on his previous resume, the resume he had submitted before, and that he would change his name. So he went ahead and changed the name to a white person name, okay? And I'm putting that in quotation because he thought that would make him sound like a white person. And he went ahead, changed his name on his resume, and submitted another application for the same position with that same company. And guess what, guys? He got a call back almost immediately. He said he was invited for an interview, and he was wondering what he should do. Now, there are people who may say, you know what, you should go ahead, do the interview. If they see him and decide the job is not for him, then at least he took the risk. He took a chance and went and applied. While there are other people who may say that, oh, hell no. They did not want him when they thought that he was a black person. He is a black man, by the way. But like, if they see him, they're still going to not offer him the position. What should he do? And the thing is that if you are applying for a job and already your name is a problem, that is not going to even get you in, then that is not the job for you. Those are not the people you want to work with. It is simply not worth it because you're going to go into that job. You're going to be miserable from day one. They're going to make you feel uncomfortable. I can promise you that because I've been there, okay? They will make you feel uncomfortable, and that will not help you. You will not be able to focus on your job. You will feel so uncomfortable every day going to work. You probably will cry every night before you go to bed and cry every morning when you think about these are the type of people I am going to work with. Is that worth it for you? Is it worth the stress that you're going to be under? Is it going to be worth the constant headaches that you have, not functioning properly, not being able to concentrate on your work, not being able to even be there for your family members because you are going to be so miserable in that position? So think about that for a moment. Is it really worth it? The next item I want to point out is that you should never ignore the red flags during an interview. You should learn to read between the lines. So if you're doing an interview and they're asking you about things like your age, they may make a comment on your accent. Those are definitely red flags that you do not want to ignore, and you definitely should not ignore because it will come back to bite you in the butt, okay? You definitely want to take note of those, both verbal things like those people asking about your age, people, so it may be discrimination based on your age, it may be something about your skin color. So you want to make sure that you focus on not only the verbal clues, but also those non-verbal clues as well. They may give you a certain type of look, like, or they may just have this persona, just how they are talking to you, that you may be like, this is not right, this may not be it. Before we jump into the rest of the video, guys, I have to do a little housekeeping here, okay? So please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Just hit that subscribe button. It will take you less than a second, okay? And please don't forget to also ring the notification bell so that you're notified every time I drop a new video. Please comment as well and like this video so that it can reach others. Thank you, my love. Now let's jump back into the video. There are certain cases where employers are required to accept a certain number of minority individuals into the organization or into a department of an organization because of a DEI. So in Texas, the state I live in, there was a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion policy for all government organizations. The governor decided to end that policy in 2023. I'm going to say maybe mid-2023. So because of that, government organizations that were getting money from the government to have a DEI department, they were required to employ a certain number of DEI staff. So individuals who were minority individuals, that was no longer a requirement. And so a lot of employers started showing their true colors. A lot of employers started laying off and finding ways to fire minority individuals after that. Number one, they had to find somewhere else to put all those individuals who made up those DEI departments, okay? So I'm talking about universities, I'm talking about hospitals and so forth. They had to divert them to different departments because they had to close down those DEI departments. And as a result of that, a lot of employers found a way to get rid of those staff. And a lot of them started showing their true colors because guess what? They never wanted Black people being in their organizations in the first place. And so when they had the opportunity to let them go or to start treating those Black people like trash, they did it. Okay. And so I'm telling you, you do not want to put yourself in that situation if you can avoid it at all, because it simply will not be worth it. Anyways, let me move on to the next point. So you also want to see if they're making any petty remarks in the workplace. So they may make you feel like you're not doing your job properly. Are you making some sort of suggestion, for example, in a team meeting, and your suggestions are ignored by your manager or your supervisor? They may pretend to not hear it. And again, I'm speaking from experience here. They may pretend to not hear your suggestions, but then someone else a few minutes later may make the very same suggestion. They're like, oh my goodness, that is an excellent idea. Great job. Listen up, okay? These are things that you want to make note of. Are you being assigned certain tasks and you get a date when you should submit that task, but before that date even comes, your manager or your supervisor assigned that task to another team member? Is that happening to you as well? And then when you go into that project meeting, they make it seem as if you're the one who did not do your job. You didn't do it fast enough. So guess what? They handed it over to someone else who they feel like can do it faster or who they feel like is more competent to do that task. Make note of that as well. Another thing I want to point out is that your manager or other team members finding fault with everything you do. So everything you do, they have a problem with. Oh, this is not that. And just being really petty, right? In terms of the faults that they find, what they think you didn't do right, what they think that they will have to fix. And guess what? They will never ask you to be the one to fix those. They're not going to say, okay, fix this. They're going to give it to somebody else. And so someone else, that other person who will fix your problem when you already did most of the work, that person will be the one who will get the credit for doing that entire task. So that's another sign that you want to look out for, okay? So these are some of the things that you definitely want to make sure that you look out for when you are applying for a job or when you're already in a job, to say, is this job for me? Do I want to be in this situation? Do I want to lose myself in this job? Is the money worth it? Is having this title, this big title, worth it? These are things you should definitely make note of. I'm not telling you to quit your job because bills still have to be paid. We know that. But what you want to do, you want to definitely start a side hustle. You may have another skill or something like that. And you may want to do some research and then decide to start a side hustle so that if push comes to shove and you can't take it anymore, you get out, okay? You're like exit stage left, all right? Or if it's something that you can scale up very, very quickly. You never know. Maybe that side hustle can become your main hustle. So maybe that can become your main job and your main source of income sooner than you think as well. The other thing that you should do is start applying for other jobs. So start looking for other jobs. Don't just sit down and be lazy and be like, things are going to get better. I hope things are going to get better. I'm just going to not make a big deal out of this. Do not do that. You want to start applying for other positions right away. And be careful about going to HR about anything. If you think that you're being discriminated against, think about who is discriminating against you or who you think may be doing that, okay? Because not all HR personnel will work in your favor, all right? So you definitely want to think about that too. And there are some organizations that have a ombudsman's office and they're not supposed to disclose anything that you go to them with. They're not supposed to disclose it to the person who you complained about or who you have an issue with. So that's not supposed to be disclosed. So that's another option. The ombudsman probably will even be a better idea in terms of someone who you can trust. They will not disclose your information. They will not go back to the person and say, this person said that and so forth, because then they can get sued. Okay. But the HR now, HR is a different story. Think about that very carefully, whether you want to go with HR with an issue that you have like this. So again, guys, totally not worth it to compromise who you are for any job, okay? You are more than your job. You are more than just a paycheck, okay? You are worth so much more. Do not give up your peace of mind. Do not compromise your mental stability, your mental health for any job. Totally not worth it. All right, guys, I love you all. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.